Yeah, once more, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Uh, this is where I'll be breaking down the subtopics, like the subheadings under information literacy. We have information sources. If you define information sources, are materials, records, or documents that provide data or knowledge on particular subjects. So, like sources, you understand. These are where you find whatever you need, the guidelines that you need for a certain assignment that had been given to you. So you have two types of information sources. One is the primary what source. Uh, Primary source is a direct or first-hand piece of evidence created at the time the event or by someone who directly experienced the event. It has not been altered or interrupted by others. So this one is like someone had an accident. You are there, you have seen what has happened at the scene. Is what we call the primary source. That's the first-hand information that you always get as someone who has seen the scene that had happened at the spot. So you also have the characteristics of primary source. One is originality, where originality, these are sources that provide information about a particular event or subject. They are unaltered, direct records that offer the original thoughts or raw data. It's what originality means under primary source. It's the original source. It has not been altered by anyone. We also have raw data, uh, which is under primary source. Their characteristics. Primary sources often present raw, unfiltered information. Example: a scientist's original lab notes might have data that could later be analyzed and interpreted in a secondary source. So, like if a lecturer has done some laboratory tests, those sources can be used by students in some other year later. It is what we mean by the raw data. So we also have the unmediated evidence, which is also under the characteristics of primary source. Uh, the unmediated evidence is there is no interpretation or analysis from another person. The source itself is the evidence. So it has not been mediated. Like let me say the person has died. You can just come from the blue, then you say that you start posting. You have to first get the real world evidence that is needed. So to me, it's by keeping that secret. It is mean the source itself is the evidence. No one has tempted with it. So that is also one of the characteristics of unmediated evidence. Then the last one, the time related. Time related are closely tied to the moment in which they were created, making them especially valuable for understanding historical, cultural, or social context. It is real time. You understand if I say like that. The till to that moment, you know, like the cultural dances, if I'm to say. So those are the four characteristics of primary sources. We have the examples of primary source. Under examples of primary source, we have documents. Under documents, you may get historical documents. For example, the USA Constitution, like treaties or official records, like census data. Those historical things is what falls under documents. And the other examples of the primary source. Another one, you have the creative works. I mean, under documents, you can also still get legal documents such as court access or governmental legislation. that still fall under those documents. Then you have personal letters that also under documents that you can get, which are also examples of primary sources. Then the creative works, number two, like the novels, plays, artwork created during a particular period. For example, Scrappers, you know that those books are written by those authors. So creative works also fall under primary source because it is a first-hand information, you know. Then number three, you also have oral history and interviews. Under oral histories, we have those testimonies like in churches. Those are real, right? You are in attendance and you are present in attendance. So they fall under uh, oral histories and interviews, which is also a primary source because meanwhile you're seated in the church, you are seeing that person who is giving the testimony live. You see, we also have artifacts. Artifacts are tools like clothing and everyday objects from a specified culture or historical period, like poetry from ancient Greece. Those are also examples that fall under artifacts. Then you have scientific sources, like laboratory tests carried by a lecturer. Those also fall under the example of primary sources. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose of a primary source, like the raw evidence. Okay? The raw evidence. So, the raw evidence they offer unfiltered and unmediated access to past or present, providing first-hand account or that. That's the purpose and the benefit of, let me say the importance of a primary source. Then what of the research finding? Primary sources serve as the constraint of original resources where a scholar can gather direct information to analyze or interpret. See, so after your research, you're getting a first-hand information. No one has done that research for you. You're the one who did it. So you're getting a first-hand information, and to you, you feel it's enough evidence that what you have done as a research is very correct. Then you have the insight into the context. They allow researchers to understand events, figures, or phenomenon from the perspective of those who lived who lived them. See, this is the original insight whereby you critically think and you come out with an answer after your research finding. So after gathering those research findings, then you also first analyze them as you, the researcher, if those things you have gathered is correct. Then you also have direct connection. For historical research, then primary sources connected directly within the event or figure and the investigation, making them invaluable in concerning the facts of a specific time or place. This is not a direct connection after getting those research findings and the insight after critically thinking of it. Then you come with the direct connection. Yeah, I think those are the four purposes of a primary source. Then what is the role of primary source in research? It is essential in fields that requires original data or first-hand accounts. It is very important for you to get a first-hand information. If you're getting a second-hand information, it's very rare that what they're telling you is the facts because they will be adding some salt into it. Then we also have it is invaluable in qualitative research, especially in history, anthropology, and social, where understanding personal experience and direct evidence is paramount. See, so let me take you back to history of maybe A level. If they have given you some work, those things happened long times ago. So it is you as a student to go and find out what really happened those days when you were not there. So it is very important. Once you go and do your research yourself, you search for books that are in accordance with the assignment given to you, then you'll be able to find the real facts of what it is needed as per the question. Then you also have researchers use it to test hypotheses, explore new angles of analysis, or gain direct evidence for arguments. Yeah, this one we can take you back to parliament. In the parliament, you can't argue on what you don't understand. You need to gather information, then use them in accordance with what is needed. So, all in all, this is all I can give you. If you have anything, you can post in my YouTube account, or you may text me, then we see way forward of giving you more important things about information literacy. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. We meet again.